We're now going to have a look at the opportunities view on your dashboard. So this view is actually one that's very similar on the mobile app because you'll just be able to swipe left and right on your mobile. But again, you'll see that in the mobile tutorials. I'm definitely going to show you this on the desktop though, because it's much easier to manage on the desktop application. So what you will see on the opportunities is a few different things. First of all, just working through this from left to right, you'll see that you can actually filter the dates here. So what this does is it filters the dates of when these opportunities came into the system, right? So if I was, for example, to look at the last 7 days, this will show me nothing here because nothing actually came into this pipeline in the last 7 days. So what this is showing you is leads that came in on a certain period. Now you might wonder why you would want to do this. So one of the reasons that this is really helpful is if you were running things like Facebook ads, and you wanted to look back retrospectively at the opportunities from a certain period of ads. So say, for example, you'd run ads over the month of September and you just wanted to look at the opportunities that came in over that period, you could simply select that time period. Now I'm going to go back again to find out when I actually put these opportunities in here. Let's have a look. And we'll sign it's still not there. And we'll actually find somewhere here when we added all these in. Right, so there they are now starting to show up. And if I went back again, we should see a heap more in June. Yes, so you can see there's different opportunities based on when they came into the opportunity board. So that's what that feature does. So, or you can change this to like a much larger period, like all of this year. Okay, so that's the date period here. Now you can also change the way that they are sorted in the areas. So the date added descending or date added ascending is basically when they came into the pipeline. So when it's set at descending, you'll see the most recent ones at the top, and when it's set at ascending, you'll see the oldest ones at the top. So again, that may be because you want to see the most recent as a relevancy, or you might want to pay attention to the ones that are oldest. So totally up to you how that runs, but it will set to descending as default. Important one, this next one is you can actually change your pipeline. So if you have multiple pipelines set up, then you can select which pipeline you're viewing just here. So let's go back to introductory program here. Now, the next thing you can do on this area is change whose opportunities you're looking at, right? So because opportunities can be allocated to certain users. So currently this is set to all, but I could change it to the ones that are just set to me here. So you can see there's nothing here. So for example, if I had this one here, let's take Tara here, and she was assigned to me, and I will go through this in a minute. What this would do is it would put my little initials on it, and now if I change to just to see the opportunities to me, then I would see that. Now, if you've seen in the settings that you can set your user access for your team members to only show their data, this would mean that they would only ever see their data in the opportunities board, right? So they can manually do it. So you can deliver a wider degree of freedom there if you like. If for some reason it's useful if they can see everybody or they can narrow down to their own, that's what this feature here does. So I'm going to put this back to all for now. Campaign allows you to see certain opportunities that are in certain campaigns by selecting the relevant campaign. The last drop down here is the status drop down. So your opportunities are always in a particular status of either open, won, lost, or abandoned. So how you use that is up to you, but the basic intent of that is that a lead that is in the open status is someone who is still like a live lead, if you like we don't know if it's basically unresolved. They haven't signed up yet, but they haven't decided not to. A won means that the deal has been won or they have signed up. Lost has said that they have definitely said no, so it's a no. Having said that, it doesn't delete the opportunity. So, and as you're probably aware, sometimes people will say no, and then 6 months later, they're back in the system and they sign up, right? So it doesn't delete them, it just marks it as lost. It's all for your statistics. And abandon is a different category that you can use if you feel like that lead isn't lost. It wasn't, they were put in incorrectly. You don't want to delete them, but you just want to put it as abandoned. It just gives you an extra category that doesn't affect your won and lost status, if you like. So one example of that is you may choose to use the abandoned category if you have a lead that just wasn't a good fit for your program, because that's a different result versus someone who you did want to sign up and do business with who decided not to, because that would be lost. Next is you can search for people via this. So I'll use Tara as an example again. I can type in Tara here and it'll show her opportunity. And I can also add a new opportunity manually. similar to what you've seen in other areas of the program, you can just add an opportunity by filling in these forms here. And similarly, again, where possible, you want to use an existing contact just by typing their name and then selecting it and having everything auto-populate from there. And you can also export all these opportunities from here with this, this download button just here. Okay, so from here, we're going to, sorry, and if I didn't explain what just happened, this just downloaded, you can't see it on my screen, it downloaded a CSV file of the opportunities, right? So let's have a look at how you really use this area to manage this. Now, if you haven't looked at it yet, you will likely be using triggers. Triggers, again, being the brains behind how your platform works. So that's basically when something happens, do this. So you may have it set up where opportunities move between stages automatically on your triggers, but you can also manually do a lot of stuff here as well. Okay, so just what I'm explaining here is that this can either be used as a place simply to check in and see where everything's at, or you can actively come in here and look at things, right? So let's have a look at a few things here. First thing you can do is there's two different ways. Well, there's a number of different ways you can interact with technically what are opportunity cards, and we call them cards because technically you can actually I can click and drag this. So if you can imagine, this is like a physical card. If you had if all this was laid out on a table, these would be cards, and then on the back of each card would be a heap of information, right? So let's have a look at how we interact with these cards. So the first one is, as you can see here, I can actually drag them in between opportunities and drop them in certain places. So one thing to be very aware of that is to be mindful of if you have a trigger. So say, for example, I'm looking at Hannah here and I drop her in the booked call status, or stage, sorry. Now, if I had a trigger, and you may not have learned triggers yet, but basically said that when someone is moved to the book call status stage, then do X, Y, Z. That will fire off those triggers. So if you're using the drag and drop method, be careful of where you drop them because it will automatically trigger anything that you've set up to trigger from that. The other place you can drag them is either into the lost or the abandoned or the one if you wanted to change their status. Now, there is another way to change that, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, which is on the opportunity card. So you don't have to use that drag and drop facility. As you've seen just there, there is a risk of dropping it somewhere where you don't want to drop it. So there is another way you can manage it within the opportunity card. So let's have a look at that right now. So I can click on the white space. Very important you click on the white space to do this, to open the opportunity card itself. So you can think of that as like just flipping over the card. And now I can see all the details of the opportunity, the contact, tags. I can add tags by typing in the tags in here and either select an existing one or add a new one. I can also remove tags. I can adjust the name of the opportunity. I can change what pipeline they're in, the stage, the status, the value, and the owner all in here. The other thing I can do here is I can look at I can add an appointment just in here, or I can edit an existing appointment. So I would just choose the calendar, select the date, and choose the slot. And the next one is tasks, where I can add a certain task. So I could say what it is. So for example, I might say that this is a phone call. Please follow up recent proposal, or whatever it is. And then I could assign it to a particular user, right? And I can put a due date on it. And then I can hit update. And then that will sit here within there. And you'll see now under Hannah, it says one task. Okay, so I can either click on that or click on the board to go back and edit those. The other thing I can do is I can also add notes. Hannah is talking to her spouse regarding the program. Okay, and I can hit save. So now I can see it in my notes area. And I'll just hit update to make sure that saves. So what you can also do in this view is that once there is a note created, you can hover over this little eye and it will show you all the notes. And so even if there's multiple notes, you'll see all of them. So for example, if I put in another one, this is a more recent note, for example, and hit save and update. Now when I hover over that opportunity card, you'll actually see the most recent note up the top, and all the additional notes underneath. So that's super, super cool. Tasks here I can click on and that will just bring up the tasks area here. And so that you have perspective of where this fits in, if that was me as a user, if I went back to the dashboard, then I would see tasks assigned to me would be sitting just here if I was in the correct pipeline. Nope. Trying to see why that's not firing up here. If I go back to the opportunities, this should sit just in here in the tasks. I'm not sure why that's actually not coming up right now. Okay, so we will come back to that. All right, so the next one is the other buttons on the card, right? So you have the conversations here. So these little speech bubbles, if I click on this, it will take me directly to the conversation view for that contact, right? Then the next thing I can do is click this green button and it will initiate a phone call with that contact for the opportunity card, right? So that's basically what you see from there. Now, the last thing you can do here is you can actually click directly on the the contact's name, and instead of opening the card, this will also open up their details in that conversation view. So that's it for the opportunities area in terms of management. The only thing I did miss out, sorry, was you will see the cumulative number of leads in each status and the value of those leads for the time period that you've selected under these columns just here. So that is how the opportunities area works.